Good afternoon. Government First Grade College, TLC and FDC, Harihara, under the scheme of Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya National Mission of Teachers Teaching in association with Spoken Tutorial IIT Bombay refresher course from 17th August 2020 to 13th August 2020. So, this is a refresher course going on from 70 August 2020 to 13th August 2020. Myself introduction, I am Anand S, Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, ACM College Arts, Science and Commerce, Chandravalli, Chitradurga. My ID 168RC0108 2021 250. So here ICT based learning activity and the rationale for it drawing on relevant supporting literature. Here the ICT source that I will be focusing on in this part of the assignment is Freezy. The reason why I picked Freezy was that it is a slideshow program that adds more life to the presentation. Freezy makes it easier for the students to present as it's inviting and captures the imagination of the students in the class. This also made my subject religion interesting for students. Freezy is very useful and easy access with many different resources. It is easier to Freeze is very useful and easy with many different resources. It is easier to include pictures straight from our computer and Google. This is easier access than PowerPoint Word. Another feature which made presenting interesting for students was the fact that they could include music in the background of their presentation. My knowledge of Freezy helped when it came to explaining Freezy to the students. As part of the new junior cycle, students have to present, and I feel that by using this in a class and a subject that's non-exam will encourage students and make them confident in their ability. By creating Freezy, this also helped students with other skills, not just presenting. For example, students would have to research and construct the Freezy presentation. Key skills: managing myself, communicating, being a creative, working with others, and managing information and thinking. Managing myself is a key skill that helps learners become capable in the information intensive environment, as well as encouraging creativity and working with others using digital technology. Students will begin to understand the key skill of staying well while using technology, which is an important current topic. With this generation of teenagers, students will be responsible, safe and ethical. While using the digital technology, students benefit and improve all the key skills in the junior cycle just by creating a Freezy presentation. Target learners. The target learners were my second year class. The idea behind using this class to research with the students was that it would prepare them for their classroom basis assessments. The more the students practiced making and researching anew, they would develop their skills. This also made the subject of religion interesting for the students as it was non-exam. The students' presenting skills will also improve as again will be practicing often. The reason why this class was my target class was that there are several students who have different religions, not just different religions, but also had a few students who had learning difficulties. There was a classroom to which also associated when I was teaching the class, while students who may struggle when it comes to reading, they may enhance in their ICT skills. The learning outcomes, key skills bar ICT curriculation. The learning outcomes, this ICT based resources, supports are the following. Students will be able to create, appreciates, and critically interprets a wide range of texts. Another learning outcomes is a awareness of personal values and an understanding of the process of moral decision making. This learning outcome linked in well with the subject of religion, students can also apply it to other aspects of life. Freezy helps students develop their junior cycle key skills, managing myself, communicating, being creative, working with others, managing, thinking, and a key skill that helps learners become a competition in an information intensive environment. Students will understand the key skills, staying well, using technology, which is important current topic of the generation of teenagers. Students will be responsible, safe, and ethical while using the digital technology. When it came to introducing Freezy to students, I structured my lesson plans upon the model bridge and designed to release the potential of technology mediated learning through a structured move away from individualized teacher led learning. It's rationalized, incorporates the potential of ICT to support to structure collaborative project oriented learning environment. The lesson that I planned were only planned over at a 40 minutes class. Like all topics, the first lesson that was planned was to introduce the students to Freezy and all the functions that came along with it. The way that I carried this task out was that I gave students a handout with the instructions and as a class. We carried out steps as they were laid out. While at the start students were struggling with the topic, by the end of lesson, students were allowed to work in pairs and this helped their progress. One point that I did make clear to the students was that I will be there to support the students and not criticize their efforts on this topic. My role in the classroom was to act a facilitator and encourage students to express different ideas. I felt that the students were willing to ask questions as I was walking around the classroom. This may have been because of the fact that their classmates were chatting between themselves and they might not have been embraced that fact that the fellow students couldn't hear them. As a teacher, I felt that this was the best way to approach a class that was structured in the manner. It made me get around it all the students to see if they are making progress with the topic. On the other side, at times there were discipline issues. The fact that wasn't standing at the top of the room, students thought that they could get away with misbehaving. This is where the role of the ICT came important as she could keep an eye on students while the second class followed the same layout as the model, and this lesson was a create an artifact. So the task the students undertook was they created a presentation on their chosen topic. The student had to pick an idea in which they discovered in the first 40-minute lesson and develop their reviews on this and create a presentation. The students got frustrated at times through the lesson as they always wanted to see what the student beside them was doing. At one stage, I heard a student saying that they want their better than their friends. So I task like this I discovered brings out the competitive nature within the class. As a teacher's point of view, I was satisfied with this as a I knew meant something to the students. Finally, the third class was a 60-minute class. The students had to present the topic. The students presented their presentation to the class, answered questions about their clip from their groups, and reflected on what they learned. The elements of the bridge model were used throughout the lessons, beginning with the teamwork and technology incorporated into all lessons, followed by skills development displayed in lesson 2 and 3, and finally the self-evaluation of reflection in lesson 3. An aspect that I noticed in this class was that students were engaged with the freezy, the fact that's different than what they were used to. Students put a lot of creativity into the freezy, and I felt that this paid of all the students respected to each other's works. Reflection on implementation. When I reflect on using freezy in the classroom, there were many positive aspects which can be taken from this tool. The fact that I only started to use freezy this year with the class groups means there is a possibly still a lot that I haven't discovered on the source. This is a product that I hope to enhance as I continue to teach. At the start, there were the initial problems that come along with using ICT. The first problem that I came across was trying to get and keep the students interested in the topic and the data of using ICT. For the students, when they attend the computer room, their first thoughts are to play games or listen to music. This was understandable considering the fact that the students would not get use the computer rooms that often, but the students' actions were dealt with the proper manner. I warned them against using the internet for games. After a couple of disagreements with the students, they came to understand what the idea of the class was. The reason I feel students were reluctant to cooperate at the start was the fact they did not understand how Freezy worked. But once this was explained to them, the students worked contently on the assignment that they were giving. I explained to students that they had an option that they could construct a Freezy presentation of a topic in religion that they were interested in, or we could go back to the class and study a topic of religion which would not appeal to students as much as the computer room would. Once students got in on the class lessons that were planned, they interacted very well with each other in comparing and creating ideas. Overall, the feeling that I take away from the lessons is that students interacted well with the ICT used in class and the ideas that they came up with. I also think that it is an important topic to do with the students and they will benefit from students' activities that they undertook. A challenge that I faced myself was trying to get used to delivering a class using ICT and directing students. It was difficult for the make sure the students were okay as I was familiarizing myself with the topic as well. By the end of the placement, I was a lot more comfortable using the ICT programs with the students. There is still a lot of work to be done in schools to include ICT, but the school where I was on my placement have made steps towards this by creating a classroom of the future on the school premises. I will take a great period to implement ICT into schools all around the country. He has mentioned about there is a vast compassion into two schools that I have been in. If the department wants to implant ICT, I feel that all schools need to receive the same resources. This is something that probably won't happen, which will make it difficult for students in a less of off areas. The fact that the department is also aware of the lack of training, this will slow down the process. I also feel that students would take advantage of ICT resources using them in a manner which is not encouraged. This again I feel would be in the areas that are disadvantaged. The fact that students may not have access to ICT at home, it would after affect their use of it in schools. For teachers who have been teaching a lot younger, not longer than I have, it will take them a while to understand and figure out how important ICT is in students' lives today. Implementation of the lesson or models to develop some aspect of the key skills it was set up to. The approach that was taken in carrying out the lessons was difficult because when I was in school, I did not use as much ICT as there is today. So I feel for teachers, as I already mentioned, that have been teaching years without the use of ICT, it will be difficult for them to adjust their plans. Teaching and learning, which will the help of the strategy, could provide guidance, planning, resources, and related supports for the effective use of ICT to school and college leaders and teachers. The more it used to college, the more and more that it will develop. There are colleges that now have classrooms of the future. In turn, this will develop ICT in the school or college environment. If it's easy for students access ICT, they will develop their skills. Finally, I would like to expression our opinion. ICT has enhanced my lessons great throughout the years during my experience. I feel that benefited from the use of ICT. I also feel that students benefit from the constant contact with ICT. There are resources that I will keep using through my time teaching. For example, Google Slides and Prezi. Internet connection technology. There are also resources that I want to use again. This is where I feel I benefited from using under different types of ICT resources and ICT more and more opportunities and connectivities. We must provide students and college teachers and leaders and administrators. That fact the world is still developing, this will result in different stages and different parts and different various fields and greater resources of ICT being developed, which of course, and I will have to adjust to that. Finally, the ICT is important to in the classroom and college level and information center and library and other areas or other sectors. The college providing a suitable opportunities to students, teachers and administrators for using of ICT in the library and the classroom and reading rooms, and as well as in a college campus provide free and easy installments to students. Thank you very much.